selected from the many, many thousands of friends we have. So consider yourselves very, very loved and lucky, and we feel very loved and lucky by having you guys here around us. And each one of you guys has meant something very, very special and unique to us, and you've touched us in a really important way in our lives to guide us through life, and really we count you guys as our closest people in this life, and we thank you for being
here. I'm Brian Barbour. I happen to be related to this young man. He's my son. And now Krista, related. It's wonderful. We're going to do a series of toasts here. My glasses on. Make sure. Well, first of all, I'd like to, before I toast to my son, actually, Krista and I have to get square on something. And, yeah, you know, you hate to start a relationship this way, so I just want to clear the air. And it was some time ago that I told Krista that I would choose her shoes for the wedding. Right? I mean, there's no dispute about this. And she agreed. And so I searched high and low. And
okay, yeah.
So if you're following my speeches at all, my daughter got married on June 18th, and so those of you that were there understood that I studied psychology. I also studied a little bit of sociology, so I really have been able to look around the world and see what's available out there, and I found a leopard. Yeah, a purple leopard. And, I went to a great deal of effort to decorate these myself. So I'm just disappointed that they're your size, young lady. Just taking a quick poll here. How many like these shoes better than her 30,000 shoes that she Never doubt your father-in-law. I understand the importance of accessorizing. Purple. Can you get those around your neck? They're head pieces. They're necklaces, but they are now head pieces. All right, so on to the toast of my son. So we're squared away. Thank you very much. You know, as I studied again sociology, I learned of a tribe in Africa that had a tradition and a saying, and it was those who get married on skyscraper have the same number of children as floors. So for those expecting grandmothers out there, could I hear that? There you go. So we're talking, I see 3 floors in the elevator, however I count the basement because that's so 4 children are expected out of this room. So we'll see what happens. So, you know, when I was thinking of kind of this toast and where to go with it, I mean, the immediate thing that jumps into my mind is, with regard to my son and his growing up, is a road less traveled. And as I come to know Krista, I understand that probably I could write the speech for her, too, in terms of a road less traveled. But Neal has always been the one to seek out adventure and always finding a new and different way to find his way to that adventure. There was the time that he came home with scratches all. Now, you're married, so you can't go back on this. Ryan, we got a sign quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take care of that.
You can't go back on this. Okay, so anyway, he came home from school one day when he was just a little one with scratches all over his arms. And I said, Neal, what happened here? So on his way, he and a buddy, as they walked to school, decided to crawl up on the arborvitae bushes that were 10 feet tall and take the path to school along the arborvitae college. So, again, a path chosen by Neal. There was a time that Neal went sledding with a bunch of his friends. Everybody's going down the ordinary path, but no, Neal had to choose his path, which actually then ended up landing him in the emergency room at 160 stitches.
Oh my gosh.
And it was this close to death kind of experience, but again, a path chosen by Neal. There was a time that Neal left his apartment in Bellingham. Some of you Bellingham people might remember this. Let's hear it for Bellingham! And to set up his temporary housing, he went into the woods in the inner city and set up his camp. And stayed there until the local police department chased him through the woods. And when we found out about this, we quickly made a new plan and a new path. Always a new path, always a new adventure, never a dull parenting moment with Neal. When Neal told us he was going to graduate school, we were delighted, Michelle and I. And when he said that he was considering school through the path of Cincinnati or Chicago or Portland, we were crossing our fingers and hoping for Portland. We knew how important this decision was for Neal to make, but it was only Neal to make it. And we're not sure exactly what all went into this, the deciding of Portland, but the choice of that path led him to Krista. And we know that that was a very fortunate and fulfilling choice. Neal's grandmother could not be here, my mom, who's 90, going to be 91 shortly, could not be here with us, but I was thinking about her when I was reading the speech as well. And Neal and Grandma were very close, and one of her favorite poems, again thinking of Neal, and this poem always just kind of resonated with I think he is a free spirit and whatnot. But stopping by the wood on a snowy evening. Whose woods are these? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it's queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and the frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flakes. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. So I think of all the promises that Neal and Krista have to keep and the many miles that they will travel together. And I know there will be times that they might want to choose different roads, and this will, as we all know in relationships, there are kind of tough times. And so again, I didn't want to leave you out in terms of gifts here, so so in those tough times when you guys are having a little bit of a discussion about which way to go, and you might kind of maybe think differently, I got you both these compasses so that you can always find your way back to each other. Well, I tell you, I pay these people good money to be out in the audience and say So a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. Today represents the start of your journey together, your single step together as one. May your path together be loving and fulfilling. May you always trust in each other, and I think that, again, Ryan was talking about this earlier, is that trust in each other, that balance in life, and again, being able to trust in each other, trust in your friends, and trust in your family. So with Godspeed, I wish you well on any adventure and every adventure that you do. You have a wonderful, wonderful traveling mate now, although she has a tough time calculating miles sometimes, but only once in that whole road trip. So. But it's climatious to have you part of the family, which is kind of an inside joke. So anyway, so I would ask you to raise your glasses to Neal and Krista. All right, so I think
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Who goes next?
Gosh, Brian, I have no gifts. And Neal's shoes seem fine. I have 3 toasts, so take tiny sips. So my first toast is to Neal.
Sit down.
Neal rode into Lawrence 2 summers ago. It was the first time I met him. And I remember going to work the next day, and a friend of mine said, "Well, how's Krista's new boyfriend?" And I said, "You know, he seems like a nice enough guy." He said, "A little metrosexual." Well, he's got this hair thing going. And his clothes looks like he probably laid him out in the bed and thought about it before he put them on. And he's wearing hotter glasses. And I said he's a little exotic because he's from the Northwest. I was going to leave that line out, but I learned that people are called belly hamsters. Right? You guys are really exotic. So, over the course of the last 2 years, I've come to know Neal quite well, actually, and I've found you to be very smart, very funny, very caring and loving, and you are crazy in love with my daughter. And I welcome you into the family with open arms. Here, here. And out of my baby girl. Starting off my baby girl, who became my peanut for a while. She was my Pooh Bear. And then she became a moose because she was just that silly. As a moose. Because you have become such a great woman that I admire so much. And I love so much, and I'm so very proud of you. Here you go.
Pooh Bear.
One more.
Peanut was my favorite. She's still a moose. And finally, to the 2 of you, I am so glad you guys found each other, and I wish you nothing but a long, happy, healthy marriage. All the best. Here, here.
Hey, Bob. Bob, will you?
Nice job.
All right, I'm Neal's brother. Great already, thank you.
Not metrosexual.
It's been kind of a crazy summer. My sister got married June 18th. I remember the date right away, June 18th. And then Neal got married in August, and I happened to be the best man at both, so I'm starting to get the middle child sibling problem thing going on. So it's been crazy, but it's been awesome. And so now I stand before you guys, and I have to somehow wrap up 28 years of the most impactful person in my life, my brother. And that was such a tall task and a tall order. And I remembered my brother actually taught me how to appraise value at a young age, and I became an expert on it. I remember teaching us, all you gotta do, you gotta just grab this book, You just take this book right here. And I believe anything my brother says. Even when he made me dog cookies that one day. He just says, okay, you take this card right here, and you look up in the Beckett. That's all you need to know. Look at the year, and then you got, okay, and this card is a comment. That was the word, a comment. And you didn't want comments because they weren't any money. You wanted the card with a little arrow that said going up. And kind of, as I grew older, this Bo Jackson, this Bonus. So, but what I found is Neal's nothing but common, and that was the best thing to have someone that I loved be uncommon and be confident with being uncommon, and that let me be uncommon in maybe a different way, not a metrosexual way. But it let me be uncommon. Nothing wrong. You're a shark dressed man. Don't hate, you know. So, anyways, this is the second stop on the Barbour Wedding Showcase, or tour. And I don't know if anybody watches, there was another tour this summer, and it was the Tour de France. And my wife always makes fun of me because I say it wrong, like Tour de France, or Tour de France, I don't know. But it's basically a bike ride, a 3-week bike ride where they're biking thousands of kilometers all over the place. And it's grueling, it's amazing, and I'd watch it every day, and it just blew me away. And so you get into the nuances of it, and one of the star players was named Andy Schleck, and he was the guy to beat. And he actually raced with his brother. And obviously, Andy was the younger brother, and he was actually the star of the team. That just resonated right there. But every day, his brother and the team that they raced for, because they raced in teams, would always go out and they would set the pace, and they would always position themselves and sacrifice themselves to get Andy. He would draft off them and pace off them, and at right the moment, he would just slingshot forward and go on his own. And I was just sitting there going, holy cow, this is my life. I mean, we're not dope. We're not in the dope game or anything like the racers are. We don't wear spandex. Well, Neal might wear spandex, but I was dying because I was sitting there, and I go, this is it. This is my brother. He would always set the pace, and like my dad said, he would trailblaze about 70 different paths for me to choose, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I got this. You know, and he was so confident, and he let me be confident, and he would just trailblaze these paths, and I could just walk boldly behind him, and it was one of the